Hi guys and welcome to the lesson. In this one I'll be talking about how to say must, have to, need to, etc. in Japanese. Okay, so we're going to start here with this example sentence. So let's look at this together. 宿題をやらなければならない。宿題をやらなければならない。Okay, so this is literally, it'll be bad if I don't do my homework, or in other words, I have to do my homework. As you can see, you're going to have to be able to say several different things in Japanese in order to express the idea I have to or need to, etc. Okay, so let's look at those things. You're going to have to be able to say the conditional if. You're going to have to be able to say the negative don't, not, etc. And you're going to have to be able to say a generic consequence. You're going to have to be able to express a generic consequence. It'll be bad, okay, if I do that. It won't be good if I do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at all of those things in Japanese, and we're going to look at how to put them together to express the idea must, have to, need to, etc. If you already are familiar with what we're covering in one of the sections, go ahead and just skip that and move on to the next one, and I promise you'll find something of value there. So let's jump right into part one. Okay, so in part one here, we're going to look at gathering the pieces. The very first thing you need to be able to do is to express the negative short form in Japanese, okay? So master this first. This is what I recommend very strongly. Let's look at how to do that. Let's look at how to make the negative short form. Okay, so what you have to do is if you have a ru or ichidan verb, you just drop the ru and you add a nai at the end. Okay, drop the ru, add a nai. So taberu becomes tabenai. Okay, let's do that together one time. Taberu, tabenai. Okay, and that's true with all ichidan verbs or ru verbs. So practice with a bunch of those. Next, we have godan verbs or u verbs. Okay, so what you do here is you take the final u sound, you change it to an a sound, and then you add a nai. Okay, so it's helpful to look at this in romaji. Okay, so let's take a look at the kana here. So nomu becomes nomanai. Okay, nomu, nomanai. Okay, so we take the final u, nomu, change it to an a, noma, add a nai, nai, nomanai. Okay, and this pattern works with all godan verbs or u verbs. There is one exception which we will look at. So let's look at a couple more of these. Okay, so oyogu, okay, to swim. Oyoganai. Sorry, I should have said this is to eat, taberu, this is to drink, nomu, and oyogu is to swim. Oyogu, oyoganai. Okay, so same thing. We have a gu, u sound at the end, change that to an a. So gu becomes ga, add a nai, and you get the negative form to not swim. Okay, so oyogu, oyoganai. Here's the exception we talked about. Okay, so tsukau ends in an u here, and you don't change the u to an a, you change the u to a wa. This is always true with godan verbs, okay? So tsukau becomes tsukawanai. Okay, tsukau, to use, becomes tsukawanai, to not use. But other than that, guys, this pattern applies in every case, so go ahead and practice your verbs and you should be good to go. So this is the first thing you need to do. You can use my YouTube shorts to do this or whatever works for you. So do this first and then you can move on to the next section. Now there are two irregular verbs in Japanese and you're just going to have to memorize these. It shouldn't be too tough. Suru becomes shinai and kuru, to come, becomes konai, to not come. Suru is to do, shinai to not do, kuru to come, konai to not come. Okay, moving on. So now we have to learn how to make things conditional. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the nakereba part of the sentence. Okay, so let's look at the sentence one more time. 宿題をやらなければならない。宿題をやらなければならない。Okay, so we've looked at how to make a negative already. So 食べない we know is to not eat, correct? Now, all you have to do is drop the e at the end and change it to ければ, and you get if I don't eat or if you don't eat, etc. depending on context. Okay, so 食べなければ if I don't eat. 食べなければ if I don't eat. Okay, one more time. 食べなければ. Okay. Next we have 飲まない. 飲まない. Okay, right, to not drink. Exact same thing, guys. This is an u verb indeed, but the conjugation here is the exact same. Just change the e to ければ and you get if I don't drink, if she doesn't drink, etc. Okay. 飲まなければ。飲まなければ。Okay, so here we have やらなければ, right? やらなければ. This is if I don't do, if I don't do. Alright, so you need to be able to say this. So once you've mastered your short negative forms, just go through and experiment making them into their conditional forms, okay? By changing I to kereba. All right, the next step is expressing a non-specific consequence, okay? So that's the naranai part of the sentence, okay? 宿題をやらなければならない. Okay, so this is literally, it'll be bad. It'll be bad, okay? So there are several common ways to say this. First, we have naranai, which we just looked at. Next, we have ikenai. And then we have dame. And these all basically mean no good. You can think about their literal meanings like can't go or won't become, etc. But honestly, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's best to just think of them as meaning no good. Okay, so now that we have the pieces, we can put them all together. So let's look at the sentence one more time. 宿題をやらなければならない. 宿題をやらなければならない. Okay, so now we have the conditional here, やらなければ. If I don't do my homework, of course, in this case, ならない. It'll be bad. You see how that kind of fits together like that? And this means I have to do my homework. Okay. So now we can do this with the other verbs that we were using above. So to eat, right? 食べなければならない. It's no good if I don't eat, or I have to eat. 食べなければならない. Okay. Same with to drink. 飲まなければならない. It's no good if I don't drink. I have to drink. 飲まなければならない. And as you can see, we just have the negative conditional in the first part, and we have naranai, a generic consequence, in the second part. Okay, and you can do the same thing with the other words we've learned. So, 食べなければいけない. Exact same meaning, guys. I have to eat. 飲まなければいけない. I have to drink. 食べなければダメ. I have to eat. 飲まなければダメ. I have to drink. Exact same meaning, and we're going to look at when to use which one in the next several sections here. All right, moving on. So let's look at tense, politeness, and question forms. Okay, so to make this polite, the easiest way to do it is just to add a des at the end. Okay, so 食べなければならないです. Okay, I have to eat, polite. 食べなければいけないです. I have to eat, polite. 食べなければダメです. I have to eat, polite. Okay, so all we're doing is we're taking the generic consequence words we looked at above, ならない, いけない, and ダメ. And we're just adding a des at the end of those. Okay, very straightforward. Another option is to conjugate these words in the polite form. So, 飲まなければなりません. Okay, I must drink. 飲まなければいけません. I must drink in the polite form. Okay, so we're just conjugating the verbs into their ません forms. Okay, if you don't know how to do that, once again, take a look at my YouTube shorts, and they should get you covered. Okay, so now we're going to look at changing tense and asking questions. Okay, so 食べなければならなかった. I had to eat. 食べなければならなかった. I had to eat. So all we did was we took the negative form ならない and we changed it to its past tense form. To do that, just take the ない, change it to なかった at the end, and you get the short past tense form. Okay, you can make that polite as well. 食べなければなりませんでした. 食べなければなりませんでした. I had to eat. This one is polite. Okay. Next, 飲まなければいけなかった. I had to drink. 飲まなければいけなかった. I had to drink. Once again, same thing. Take the ない, change it to なかった for the short past tense there. And 飲まなければいけませんでした. I had to drink, and this one is polite. 飲まなければいけませんでした. Okay, we can also make questions. 食べなければいけない? Do I have to eat? 食べなければいけない? Do I have to eat? Polite. 食べなければいけないですか? 食べなければいけないですか? Do I have to eat? Polite. Okay. Next, 飲まなければならなかった? Did I have to drink? 飲まなければならなかった? Did I have to drink? And just note that literally we're just taking the same pattern as above and we're just changing the intonation here for the short form. Okay, then we have the polite version. 飲まなければならなかったですか? 飲まなければならなかったですか? Etc. So there are several other patterns that are doable here. Think about those on your own for a little challenge. Okay, so let's look at using the particle to, which indicates a strong conditional. This is also very, very common in spoken Japanese. So, コーヒーを飲みすぎると眠れなくなります. Okay, if I drink too much coffee, I have trouble sleeping. So, コーヒー, coffee, を飲みすぎる, drink too much, と. This is where the strong conditional is expressed. So if I drink too much coffee, 眠れなくなります. Okay, I have trouble sleeping. So this is how to functions basically as a strong conditional. And now let's look at how to use that to say you must do something. Okay, so literally all you do is you replace the first conditional part with 食べないと. 食べないと. Okay, so if I don't eat, it's a strong conditional. If I don't eat, いけない, it's no good. In other words, as we've seen, I must eat. Okay, 飲まないといけない, I must drink. So as you can see, it functions just like as what we looked at above, except we've changed the 飲まなければ and 食べなければ to 食べないと and 飲まないと. Okay, just a note, 食べないとならない is very, very rare. Okay, you hardly ever see that one. So let's use these here in speech. And as we will see in the next section, there are further ways to abbreviate this as well. Before looking at that next section, we'll look at other iteration examples with to. Okay, so 食べないといけなかった. Did you have to eat? Once again, guys, it just follows the past tense structure that we looked at above. And we can make a polite sentence as well. 飲まないといけませんでした. I'm sorry, I said it like a question. 飲まないといけませんでした. I had to drink. 飲まないといけませんでした. Okay, so now let's look at some ways to abbreviate this stuff. So there's some variations in casual speech. The first is abbreviating the negative conditional. Okay, so we looked at なければ above, right? The negative conditional. You can change なければ to なきゃ, なきゃ. Okay. If you look at the romaji here, you can see why that makes perfect sense. Literally, we're just retaining the k and a sounds here. K and a remain. And we are transforming the middle sounds to a ya sound. Okay, so 食べなければ becomes 食べなきゃ. Okay, so we're just shortening things to make it easier to say, basically. So let's look at how that works in the structure. So 食べなきゃならない. Okay, 食べなきゃならない. I must eat. 食べなきゃいけない. I must eat. And this one with いけない is a bit more common, I would say. Okay, 食べなきゃいけない. Very common way to say I must eat, he must eat, she must eat, etc. Okay, another option we have is なければ becomes なくちゃ. Okay, and as you can see, we're retaining a bit more in between the k and a sounds, more than we were retaining above here. This has kind of a cute or playful nuance, but it functions the exact same as the other abbreviation. So 食べなくちゃならない. Okay, I must eat. 食べなくちゃいけない. I must eat. And this one with いけない is indeed more common. All right, let's move on. So not only can you abbreviate the first half, you can also omit the second half. So in English, if I say the grass is greener, a lot of you think on the other side, or at least you know the meaning of the phrase. So by saying the first half of a well-known phrase, the grass is greener, you automatically fill in the second half because you're so familiar with this structure. Okay, so it works the exact same way in Japanese. If you just say 食べなきゃ, okay, you omit いけない, it makes sense that it means if I don't eat, right? In other words, I gotta eat. Okay, so 食べなきゃ, I gotta eat. 食べなきゃ, I gotta eat. Okay, something like that. 飲まなきゃ, I gotta drink. You gotta drink. He's gotta drink, etc. Okay, so it's very handy. We're just eliminating the second half, and the idea still gets across. Okay, you can do this with the to particle as well. So 食べないと, I must eat. 飲まないと, I must drink. Very, very handy, isn't it? And then the next thing you can do actually is you can use だね after that. So 食べなきゃだね, we gotta eat, huh? Or だよ, 飲まないとだよ, come on, you gotta drink, etc. Okay? Sometimes you put a des after it even. So you're abbreviating, but you're keeping it polite at the same time. You'll hear all kinds of iterations, guys, so I just suggest that you expose yourself to the language as much as possible and slowly develop your understanding of this over time. Okay, guys, this section is very, very important. This is the final section on how to practice. All right, so let's look at how to practice output first. So we've kind of talked about this throughout the lesson, but let's just review. So first, you want to drill the simple negative. So 食べる, 食べない. 泳ぐ, 泳がない. 遊ぶ, 遊ばない, etc. You can use my YouTube shorts for this as well. Do it however you like. Get this down, guys, to where it's second nature, where you just see the word, the verb, and you can immediately conjugate it correctly into its negative form. Get this down first, guys. I promise it will help every aspect of your Japanese, okay? The next thing you want to do is drill the simple negative conditional. Okay, so we just take the negative forms that we generated up here, and now we change the it to kereba. Okay, so 食べない becomes 食べなければ. Okay, 泳がない becomes 泳がなければ. 遊ばない becomes 遊ばなければ, etc. Okay, so once again, this should be second nature, right? So when you come down to do this one, you don't have to think about the negative form. You just have to think about getting the negative into its conditional form. Okay, so it makes it a lot simpler. Okay, after you get this down, once again, this should be second nature. Okay, it might take you a couple days, might take you a couple weeks, months. Who knows how long it'll take? Shouldn't take too long if you're spending time doing it every day. Get this down first, make it second nature, and then finally, guys, you want to drill the full structure. Okay, so 食べなければならない、泳がなければならない、遊ばなければならない, etc. And then you might want to do that with the ikenai as well. In fact, this is what I would advise working on the most because it's more common in speech. So 食べないといけない、泳がないといけない、遊ばないといけない, etc. Okay? Next, we're going to practice the polite and abbreviated casual forms. So once you get the basic structure down, then you can start doing things like 食べなければなりません, etc. 食べなきゃいけない, etc. Once again, so this is the polite form and this is the abbreviated casual form. Finally, once you're able to do all of that stuff, then you want to start making your own sentences. And of course, you can do this at any time during the process, I suppose, but it's probably going to be a lot more efficient if you do it after you've mastered every other step. So for example, このブロッコリーを全部食べないといけないですか? Do I have to eat all of this broccoli? このブロッコリーを全部食べないといけないんですか? Okay, or ヨーロッパまで泳がなきゃダメ? Do I have to swim all the way to Europe? ヨーロッパまで泳がなきゃダメ? Okay, last one. トイレ掃除をしないといけないんですよ. I have to clean the toilets, and it implies so I can't hang out with you or something like that. トイレ掃除をしないといけないんですよ. So, I kind of had fun making these sentences, and I suggest that you do as well. If you have fun and you say something that you're interested in or that's funny to you or whatever, it's probably going to make the process a lot more interesting and it's going to help stuff stick. All right, guys, so definitely try going through this whole process here, and I promise you, if you've gone through this just as I've said and you make each step second nature, you're going to be able to say what you need to do just lickety split. It's not going to feel overwhelming at all. So definitely go through this. And then as far as input goes, I'd say just listen and try to be aware of which iteration you're encountering. So we've looked at tons of different iterations, right? Some are polite, some are questions, some are abbreviated, some have ikenai, some have naranai, some have dame. Just try to be aware of which iteration you're encountering, in which context it's being used in, who's saying it, how they're saying it, etc. And that's really going to help you gain a more solid understanding of the structure. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. For more practice and on-the-spot feedback, join me for Japanese lessons. You can find the link on my profile. Go to my Calendly. It's a calendar. You can pick a time to get a free consultation for 40 minutes. No strings attached. Get to know me. I'll get to know you. We'll have a chat about lessons. And if you're interested, you can join. We're having tons of fun, so I hope to see more of you there. Alright guys, see you in the next one. Mata ne.